Hello, good evening. My name is Radek Kosinski. I'm a senior trainer at Worldwide School, and I have a pleasure of conducting tonight's webinar for you. Um, well, first of all, I need to ask you one very important question. Can you hear me? You can type some answers in the chat, so I know that I'm my voice is getting through to you. Okay, I'm receiving some answers. Thank you very much. Okay, and as you know, tonight I'm going to talk about some expressions, words connected with the upcoming American presidential elections, and in general connected with American political system. So we'll go through some expressions that you can hear while watching the news or reading something about American politics. They're in alphabetical order, so let's have a look at at the selection I have prepared. Thank you very much for attending. Let's get the show on the road. So yeah, first of all, the first term is air war. Nothing to do with like kinetic war, planes dropping bombs, nothing like that. Air war is more connected with the media, of course, and it's like a battle war between the candidates to get as much advertising on television or on the radio as possible. Of course, in recent years, internet is the king. It's cheaper, and you can prepare more carefully targeted ads for the candidates. So yeah, internet has gained lots of significance when it comes to this. But traditionally, it was radio and TV. So that's called an air war. For example, yeah, election campaigns can traditionally be divided into two different approaches by parties: the ground war, like of door knocking, leafleting, and canvassing, and the air war of ideas and debates, which are beamed out nationwide. Yeah, so ground war versus air war. Yeah, I guess knocking on doors, asking people to vote on your candidate is more tedious than just using internet to advertise your candidate. Okay, Onti. This doesn't look like a term related to politics, but this year, like the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris actually adopted this word and presents herself in social media as Auntie, yeah, Auntie Kamala. So basically, in Asian or Black communities in the U.S., the meaning of the term auntie, basically, it's used to describe like blood relatives, caregivers, senior women, and Kamala Harris, adopted the name like Auntie Kamala. She embraces the term and uses it to describe herself in her social media biographies. So yeah, that's auntie for you. This year we have Auntie Kamala. For example, yeah, an auntie has a role less defined than a mother. An auntie can have a career, be childless. Yeah, like childless cat mom, for example. Be the keeper of family lore or none of the above. Aunts are makers of community. They hold the bonds of community together. So that's Auntie Kamala for you. Balancing the ticket. Okay, this is like a very important expression, which basically means that when you choose candidates for presidency and vice presidency, well, they should somehow balance each other's weaknesses out. Like for example, in 2008, when Barack Obama was running for presidency, he was seen as young, relatively inexperienced. So he selected like Joe Biden, a veteran of American politics, as his running mate. Yeah, so Biden was his vice president. So that's what balancing the ticket is. So we have like a candidate for president who is inexperienced, but then somebody who runs for vice presidency must be a veteran, just to cancel out each other's weaknesses. So this is the term of balancing the ticket. For example, yeah, a more balanced ticket will be more successful, encouraging parties to nominate women and minority candidates for election. A battleground state. Okay, probably you've heard, well, you must have heard the term swing state. Battleground state is kind of similar. Usually it's a large state where electorate is split kind of evenly between the Democrats and Republicans. Both parties spend like a disproportionate amount of time and money campaigning in those states because, well, they really have to win them if they want to win the election. Such states, such battleground states, in recent years, like include Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, which have lots of electoral votes. We'll speak about electoral votes in a sec. So that's a battleground state. For example, yeah, the 2024 election also appears to be a nail biter where only a handful of votes is in an important battleground state could determine the winner. So that's what's going to happen on Tuesday, the 5th of November, I guess. Small number of votes will decide about the winner. Okay, bellwether state. So this is well, typical American term referring to a state which historically has the tendency to vote for the winning candidate. It's like a whole country representing the whole state. Like a good example of such state is Ohio, which hasn't backed a losing presidential candidate since 1960. So yeah, if a candidate wins in Ohio, he wins in the whole states. Yeah, so in fact, no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. The term bellwether itself derives from a name for a sheep, which shepherds fit with a bell. So by listening out for this sheep, for the bell, the shepherds like are able to locate, or were able in the past, locate the position of the entire flock. Now I guess they use GPS or something. So that's a bellwether state. For example, Michigan's status as a bellwether state was solidified after its voting patterns mirrored the national outcome in multiple elections. Okay, beltway. Well, the basic meaning of beltway is like orbital highway or ring road that surrounds major American cities. This particular beltway refers to Interstate 495 highway surrounding Washington, D.C. So this is the seat of American government. And if you mean like a beltway issue, this is a political issue considered to be of importance only to the political and media class, not to like general public or normal people, voters. If we say that somebody has a beltway mentality, they are seen as out of touch with the ordinary voters here because they deal with things that only the media and politicians are interested in, not ordinary people. For example, yeah, there is not a single person outside the beltway who is engaged in this nonsense. So outside the beltway, meaning outside Washington, D.C., right? Blue state. Okay, a question for you, blue color represents which party? The Democrats or the Republicans? Well, if you know, just type the answer in the chat. This a blue state, yeah, belongs to one of the main parties. So of course, oh, somebody's typing. Let's wait. Answer: Democrats or Republicans? Democrats, of course. That's a good answer. Two correct answers. Thank you very much. Yeah, so a blue state is a state where people tend to vote for the Democratic Party, of course. For example, yeah, in a blue state like Massachusetts, access to healthcare is often more readily available. So yeah, that's the blue state. Bundler. Okay, that's another interesting one. A bundler is a person who gathers or bundles campaign contributions, so basically money, to a candidate from their network of friends or business associates. So bundlers are usually like wealthy and well-connected people. They play a crucial role in financing the campaign. Because according to American law, individuals are barred from donating more than $2,500 per election to a candidate. But you can increase your influence by providing the candidates with checks that bundlers have solicited from their associates or acquaintances. So there are ways around it. So that's a bundler. And for example, yeah, several bundlers and fundraisers that raise money for Trump had also moved on to raise money for his 2024 rivals. Okay, ballot harvesting. Okay, that's another interesting one. Ballot harvesting is basically when someone collects an absentee ballot from another person and delivers it to the polling station or to some election officer. So basically, if somebody is unable to go and vote in person, yeah, then ballot harvesting can help such people take part in the election. So somebody can take their voting card, the ballot from them, and deliver it to the polling station. So the laws of ballot harvesting differ from state to state, but basically this practice was invented to aim, I mean, yeah, to help elderly voters, people with disabilities, or those living in some remote areas who have problems with getting to their polling station. So that's ballot harvesting. For example, yeah, a former Arizona mayor and current school board member has been sentenced to spend 30 days in a county jail and then another 2 years on probation after she admitted to harvesting a sum total of 4 ballots during an August 2020 primary election. So there's some, yeah, space for illegal actions with ballot harvesting as well. Black jobs. This is a very new term coined by Mr. Trump during his June debate with Mr. Biden. Nobody really knows what black jobs are, but according to Mr. Trump, black jobs are the jobs that immigrants were taking away from black people. So there's lots of memes and jokes about what black jobs are, what white jobs are, Hispanic jobs. Well, nobody knows, but that's something that was introduced by Mr. Trump, the term black jobs. Yeah, for example, yeah, the internet is now wondering what exactly a black job or Hispanic job is. Trump's words rightfully sent social media into a whirlpool of jokes and discussions. Yeah, so if you have any ideas what he meant by black job, yeah, you can share. Okay, bro vote. This is basically something, an action or that is supposed to or aimed at the youngest demographic. Yeah, people between the ages of 18 and 29, targeted by both sides, but mostly by Trump and Vance, who run on the same ticket. So basically, using some well-known people, yeah, like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Dave Portnoy, who are the heroes of young people, yeah, aged between 18 and 29, who are into gaming, cryptocurrencies, sport betting, stuff like that. So the parties have been trying to engage this youngest demographic, and Republicans use yeah, these well-known people using targeted ads, podcasts, interviews. Yeah, Musk is using his X, former Twitter service, hoping to inspire the youngest voters and to increase the turnout and help sway the election their way, Republican way. So this is like a bro vote. For example, yeah, the bro vote, Trump and Kamala Harris compete for young women's vote with contrasting visions for the future of masculinity. Interesting. All right. Caucus. Oh, this is a typical American phrase, which means a meeting of a political party that could be held on different levels, county, district, precinct, to choose the candidates it will support. So we have open caucuses or open primaries, so where voters do not have to be registered in the party to cast a vote. And we have closed caucuses or closed primaries that require voters to be registered in the party. For example, the Iowa caucuses that mark the official start of the 2024 election are just 46 days away. Okay, so that's the caucus capital. Of course, that's the seat of Congress in Washington, D.C. Beautiful white building, mostly constructed of white marble, that houses the Senate and the House of Representatives, and is of course connected to presidential elections because, well, the inauguration of a new president takes place on Capitol steps on January the 20th, following the election year. So we can expect the inauguration to happen, on January the 20th on the steps of Capitol. For example, some of the protesters outside the Capitol burned the U.S. flag. Well, happens. Commander-in-chief. So basically, the president is like, the commander-in-chief. So this is the constitutional role granted to the president as the head of the U.S. Armed Forces, commander-in-chief. The nation's 45th commander-in-chief was escorted from Trump Tower to the courthouse by the Secret Service and may have his mugshot taken. So that was when Trump was arrested. He was the 45th commander-in-chief, so 45th president of the U.S. Okay, delegates. Nothing tricky about that. These are party members whose votes at the National Convention officially determine the party's presidential candidates. So majority of delegates taking part in conventions are obligated to vote for the candidate chosen in the primary elections or caucuses in their home states. And they are referred to as pledged or elected delegates, but some delegates are unpledged, and they can vote for any candidate at the convention, not necessarily the one chosen in the primaries. For example, Donald Trump this week earned enough delegates in the 2024 Republican primary to officially win the party's nomination. Donkey. So this is an animal that is the symbol of the Democratic Party, and it started actually a long time ago, like in 19th century, I guess. So donkey being the political symbol of the Democratic Party. Some historians say that it was first used during Andrew Jackson's presidential campaign in 1828, so quite some time ago. And of course, donkey was labeled as a jackass by opponents of the Democratic Party. And it goes back to the New York cartoonist Thomas Nast, who was a Republican, radical Republican, who later used the donkey to represent a group of northern anti-Civil War Democrats, and more generally as a symbol for pro-Democrat editors and newspapers. So not very nice, but yeah. But the donkey stayed. And by the end of the 19th century, the symbol was firmly established. Although the donkey was used as a symbol as in 1828, Thomas Nast is often credited with making it the symbol of the Democrats. So they have to thank this guy for the donkey. Electoral college. Another famous term, because there's some special things about American presidential elections. So basically, this is like a collective term for 538 electors who officially elect the president and vice president of the U.S. So in order to win, you need to get like a majority of 270 college votes or electoral votes if you want to win the presidency. And basically, the number of electors for each state is equal to the combined total of its senators and representatives in Congress. So this system was conceived like before the existence of political parties, and it was designed to allow the electors to act as independent voters. And electors are expected to follow the wishes of the majority of voters in each state. They should vote in the same way as majority in the general vote in their states. And for example, elections aren't official in a legal sense until each state certifies its counts, and then the electoral college votes to determine a winner in December. Elephant. So donkey was Democrat, and elephant is Republican. So basically, it's the traditional symbol of the Republican Party. It's believed to have been used first and by an Illinois newspaper during Abraham Lincoln's 1860 election. So also kind of an old symbol coming from 19th century. And again, Thomas Nuss, the same guy who popularized the donkey, has popularized the image in a cartoon in 1874. So yeah, that's the elephant, the symbol of the Republicans. For example, today's most common representation of the elephant incorporates the colors and stars of the American flag. Yep, a very popular image you can find online. Federal Election Commission. Okay, so some formal boy. Yeah, so this was created in 1975 by the Congress. And it serves as an independent regulatory agency to administer, well, and enforce federal election law. So this commission, yeah, discloses campaign finance information, enforces the law, oversees the public funding of presidential elections. So by law, no more than 3 of the 6 members of this commission can be members of the same political party, just to keep some kind of balance. For example, yeah, the Federal Election Commission administers and enforces the laws that govern the financing of elections for federal office, the U.S. House, Senate, and President. That's FEC. Filibuster. That's a very interesting one. So basically, it's a parliamentary technique of delaying a vote to pass legislation, but by giving a long speech. So like now, there's no big majority in the Senate, because it takes 60 votes to defeat a filibuster by ending the debate. But if you don't have 60 votes, then by using filibuster, you can simply delay or block the vote forever. Yeah. So nowadays, it's enough to threaten a filibuster to block legislation. You don't need to really go out there and speak for 20 hours. And so the minority party, yeah, can only threaten to use it. Because the majority party usually holds less than 60 votes in the Senate, so they cannot really yeah, do anything against this filibuster. For example, yeah, one of the most infamous uses of the filibuster came in 1957 when South Carolina Democrat Strom Thurmond gave a 24-hour tirade against a piece of civil rights legislation in an ultimately unsuccessful effort to block it. Well, imagine speaking for 24 hours in the parliament. Dedicated person. Okay. Founding fathers, classic ones. So, of course, this term is not very precise, but is used to describe people involved in preparing, drafting the Declaration of Independence from Britain 1776, and also framing and adoption of the American Constitution at the Philadelphia Convention in 1787. So basically, yeah, all the figures, influential figures who took part in the struggle for independence and those who fought in the Revolutionary War are kind of like the founding fathers. For example, yeah, in the new book, Trump brags that even a founding father might not have beaten him. So yeah, probably. Front loading. Front loading basically is a tendency that has been growing in recent years for some states to move their primaries and caucuses forward, attempting to be among the first states holding a nominating contest. So basically, yeah, state authorities believe that being at the front of the queue increases their influence on the nomination process. Or it has some downside. If too many states hold their contests in a short space of time, some critics argue that candidates are unable to connect with voters in each individual state. For example, yeah, as a result of front-loading, presidential nominees are often determined early in the election year. Goth. Oh, we have the same word in our language, I guess. Joe Biden, well, made some goths recently. So of course it's a verbal error or slip up made by a politician or other political figure. Um, a gaffe is, yeah, according to some American journalists, famously, a gaffe is when a politician accidentally says something he or she really means, but that was better left unsaid. Yeah, I guess that's a good definition of a gaffe. For example, yeah, his upstart presidential campaign was riddled with gaffes and blunders that should have ended his candidacy. Oh, but well, that doesn't happen anymore nowadays. Okay, gerrymandering. Oh, that's also a fascinating thing. Not only happening in the US, but in other democracies. So basically, gerrymandering is the practice of drawing like political constituency maps to increase a particular candidate's or party's advantage in the coming election. So basically, it's like politicians choosing their voters rather than voters choosing their politicians. You just draw some lines on the map and okay, people living here like us, so yeah, let's include them in this constituency so they vote for us and we win. Yeah. So in the States, like political district maps are typically changed, redrawn once a decade, mm, following the completion of the census, checking how well the demography of a given place. The party that is in power in a state government sometimes uses sophisticated mapping and statistical data to redraw the map to ensure that its candidates have the best chance of success. Usually by diluting, weakening the electoral strength of the opposition's party or candidate supporters. So that's gerrymandering. When politicians basically select their voters, not voters like choosing their politicians, gerrymandering. For example, yes, so while most Texans might be able to vote, their voice has been rendered silent because of gerrymandering. Yeah, we can do that. Governor. Of course, the elected official of the state who is responsible for the effective and efficient workings of its government. Um, 4 years in office, just like the president, and very often governors become candidates for American presidency. And the number of times a governor can be reelected varies from state to state. For example, perhaps the landmark photo of the collection is one of the Florida governor and his wife, Casey, sharing a warm stroll on the beach. Yeah, being a Florida governor, why not? Good weather. Grand Old Party, the GOP. So this is a traditional nickname of the Republican Party, used widely by American media, and not only American, I guess. So basically, the official history of the party traces the term back to the late 19th century. And an article in the Boston Post with the headline "The GOP Doomed." And they suggest on the website that this term may have evolved from the term used to refer to British Prime Minister Gladstone, the grand old man, and this is a grand old party. And in 1964, in Nixon's presidential campaign, GOP was used briefly as the basis for the slogan, the Go Party. But by late 1970s, this grand old party had become firmly associated with Republicans and the Republican Party. For example, they still sort of look down on minorities, Powell said of some members of the grand old party. Hanging Chad. This is one of my favorites on this list. So basically, a Chad is a small piece of waste paper or card created when a hole is punched in a ballot. Yeah, so when you mark which candidate you're voting for, you punch a hole through a ballot. And the chats became famous in the year 2000, the 2000 presidential election, especially in Florida when the results between George W. Bush and Al Gore were so close that a recount of the votes was necessary, and electoral officials were forced to examine the ballot papers to determine voters' intentions. So we have different types of chads. Like some voters that had punched their preferences, but the chat had not fully separated from the ballot. It's called a hanging chat because like it hangs by a thread, sticks to the ballot. And when indentation had been made in the ballot, but it had not been punched through, that's a pregnant and dimpled chat. So I guess this year again, some recount might be necessary, and yeah, hanging chat will again be famous. Like in the year 2000. For example, yeah, the hanging chat controversy of 2000 was preceded by the elections in 1990 for a House of Representatives seat in Illinois. So, yeah, I guess we're going to hear about hanging chats this year again. Okay, hard money. Well, as the name suggests, this is money contributed by an individual directly to a particular campaign. So as we mentioned before, and currently individuals can contribute like $2,500 to a candidate's primary campaign and additional $2,500 to a candidate's general election campaign. And they can make such donations to multiple candidates. But the first $250 an individual donates to a candidate's primary campaign can be matched dollar for dollar from federal matching funds. And limits depend on state laws. So for example, yeah, the hard money describes donations by individuals and groups made directly to political candidates running for federal office. So yeah, hard-earned cash, yeah, so hard money. Inauguration, like, yeah, we mentioned the Capitol and the steps. So that's, of course, the ceremony that marks the start of the new president's term of office. And it's like, according to U.S. Constitution, this happens on the 20th January of the year following the election. So yeah, we can expect that next year on January the 20th. For example, yeah, the man admitted to throwing smoke bombs at a line of police trying to keep the mob from the stage set up for Biden's inauguration. Yeah, hopefully it will be peaceful next year. We'll see. Independence. Okay, so easy word, but this one refers to registered voters who have not declared any party affiliation. So most voters registered for a particular party will vote for that party's candidate. Well, seems logical. Like general elections campaigns have tended to focus on winning over these groups, like registered voters. So yeah, come and vote for us. But nationwide, about 1/3 of all voters consider themselves independent. So like some key states, most important states, have a higher proportion of independent voters than others. Like New Hampshire, for example, it traditionally has a large number of independent voters, and so-called independents. And as a result, has a reputation for producing unexpected results during its primary election. Because if you're independent voters, you do not necessarily have to vote for the party or candidates that's been registered with. For example, yeah, an independent voter can handpick a candidate based on their positions on various issues rather than on their political party. Yep. Okay, libertarian. Oh, of course, not only in the US, but yeah, libertarians are voters whose concerns are driven by belief in a small government, fierce support for fiscal conservative ideas, and of course, individual liberty. Usually, libertarians in the US tend to vote Republican, attracted by the party's advocacy for lower taxes and government spending, and opposition to regulation of business and the welfare state. However, many libertarians disagree with the party's stances on social issues and war on drugs. For example, yeah, libertarians worry far more about the liberty of the boss than that of the worker. Lobbyists, they are everywhere, not only in the States. Of course, a lobbyist is a person hired to represent the interest of a company, industry, some political cause, or even foreign government in the Congress, some regulatory agencies, or other parts of the U.S. government, not only in the U.S. If you want to be effective as a lobbyist, yeah, you need to be very well connected, and these people are very often the former members of the Congress or some other congressional staff, or had some other like high-level jobs in the U.S. administration. Yeah. Sometimes, if you use lobbyists too much, it can become a liability. But yeah, they have their use. For example, yeah, the union hired lobbyists to work at the Capitol, encouraging the lawmakers to strike down the bill. Yeah, so if you don't like some new law, you can hire lobbyists, strike it down before it's voted. Okay, Medicaid. So that's a health insurance program for the poor and disabled people, funded jointly by the states and federal government, which is administered by at the state level, and it's up to the states to determine matters of coverage, eligibility, and the administration of this program. However, they must conform to some federal guidelines. It's also an issue during this election. For example, yeah, many of those who lost coverage had incomes that were too high to qualify for Medicaid or had aged out of the program. National convention, like we mentioned it before, but of course this is the party assembly, which is held every 4 years, at which like state delegates from across the country gather in one place to nominate the party's candidates for president and vice president. And the nominees are typically chosen by voters in primary elections and caucuses before the conventions, but it's formality. The formal convention processes remain in place in case a decision over the party's candidate has to be brokered by the various party leaders. That's basically confirming what has been chosen during the primaries and caucuses. For example, that is what confident Democratic Party delegates believed when they headed to Chicago on August 29th for their national convention. Oval Office, famous place, of course, in the White House. Yeah, so this office occupied by the president in the West Wing of the White House. And basically, the term itself is very often used to describe the presidency itself. The physical proximity of aides to the Oval Office is seen as reflecting the extent of their influence. So the closer you are to the Oval Office, like the closer you are to the president, the more power you have. Yeah? And of course, there's a private study next door from the Oval Office. For example, Biden addressed the nation in a broadcast from the Oval Office on Wednesday evening. Why not? Okay, Political Action Committee, PAC in short, PAC. That's an organization created in order to promote the views of its members on selected issues. Usually they do it by raising money that is used to fund candidates who support the same position as the group. Yeah, so you want to be elected, do what we say, support our views, we'll give you money, so you are elected. Yeah? The PACs monitor candidates' voting records and question them on their beliefs on issues of interest to their membership. Yeah, if they are aligned, they give the candidate the money. Yeah, you'll be elected because you support what we do support. So yeah, help us. Well, of course, the amount of money is kind of restricted by the federal law. But PACs have become like an important way of funneling large funds into the political process, and they can strongly influence elections and the outcome of the elections. For example, the government received over $3 million in campaign contributions from political action committees. Okay, pork barrel politics. Pork barrel, well, sounds strange, but what it is the appropriation of government spending or funding, which is pork, pursued by a lawmaker for projects that benefit their constituents or campaign contributors. So basically, not only in the States, but let's take some public funds, let's do something for our local community, and we'll be elected again. Yeah? So, for example, their coalition has always been uneasy, based more on pork barrel politics than ideological affinity. It's always about money, I guess. Primary. We talked about it, but this is like a state level election, which is held to nominate a party's candidate for office. Of course, regulations differ from state to state, but in some states, voters are restricted to choosing candidates only from the party for which they have registered support. But in other states, like 29 states, they permit open primaries, yeah, where a voter may opt to back a candidate regardless of their nominal affiliation. So they can back any candidate. So yeah, in this case, yeah, some strategic voting may take place, like for example, Republicans crossing over to back the perceived weaker Democratic candidate. So yeah, some political games might be involved. For example, Iowa is the first state to have a caucus or primary ahead of the 2024 presidential election. Public funding seems self-explanatory, but yeah, of course, that's money supplied to campaigns from government coffers and administered by Federal Election Commission. This also includes like primary election matching funds, which match the money that candidates have raised privately, and also a grant for the general election and grants to fund the major parties' conventions. So if you're a candidate, a presidential candidate who accepts public funding, they must agree to some spending limits. So that's something tricky. But yeah, in the general election, candidates who accept public funds may not raise private money in addition to the grant from the public funds, nor can they spend more than the grant. So sometimes might be tricky because maybe candidates can raise more money privately than taking it from the government. For example, yeah, in 2008, Mr. Obama became the first candidate to decline public funds for the general election because he calculated he could raise more on his own. So there's always such an option if you don't want to restrict it by some spending limits. You can raise money on your own. Purple state. Okay, question to you. Purple state, like blue state, Democrats, but what about purple state? Any ideas? Who people vote for in a purple state? So basically, the answer is not so simple because purple state, well, is a swing state or battleground state. Yeah, a state which could vote Democratic, blue, or Republican, which is red. For example, yeah, typically a purple state will see a lot of campaign advertising in advance of the election, and politicians will make an effort to visit early and often to connect with voters. Yeah, so purple states or swing states, yeah, you have to win them if you want to win the presidency. Push polling. Okay, what is that? So basically, it's a practice, a controversial practice, where voters are contacted over by telephone, but by people who are well, who seem to be taking a poll, yeah, but who talk up their own candidate and rubbish the other candidate, yeah. So basically, it's like instead of conducting a poll, opinion poll, they trying to, yeah, encourage people to vote for a specific candidate. That's push polling. So yeah, speculation was intensifying this weekend about who was behind the push polling calls. So yeah, they do that sometimes. Red state. So we know now that, of course, red state is the state that votes for the Republican Party. For example, yeah, states such as Texas, Alabama, and Wyoming are classified as red. These areas often emphasize conservative values, individual liberties, and limited government intervention, reflecting the preferences of their predominantly rural and suburban populations. Red state, yeah. So blue, Democrats, purple, can vote both, and red definitely votes for Republicans. Stump speech. That's a nice one. Basically, it's like candidates' routine speech that outlines their, well, campaign message. Of course, the speech can be tailored to suit like specific audiences. Like you don't, well, tell different people the same stuff, right? And may, of course, evolve over the course of the campaign. And the phrase comes from old days when candidates would actually make speeches standing on tree stumps. As you imagine, the tree has been cut, there's a stump left in the ground to stand on it to deliver a speech. And still, yeah, this term is used, but however, yeah, the candidates don't stand on tree stumps nowadays to give speeches. Yeah? But yeah, it's still used. For example, yeah, reporters looked at each other and then down at their laptops, feverishly typing to get the breaking news out about what was no longer a typical stump speech. Probably Mr. Trump's speech. Super PAC. Okay, we're talking about PACs. This is a super PAC, which is like a category of independent political action group established by the Citizens United Supreme Court in a decision, which is allowed to accept and spend unlimited amounts of corporate, individual, or union cash on behalf of a candidate, very often without revealing, disclosing its sources. And super PACs are forbidden, barred from coordinating their spending, usually in advertising, with candidates they support. But some say they are like they in essence operate as a shadow campaign committee. So there's space for some illegal activities just to increase the candidates' funding. For example, yeah, super PACs, political action committees, are a concept that has become synonymous with that corruption. Many see these entities as symbols of a broken system, a system with loopholes that allow organizations to lend support to particular candidates or parties. Yep. Super Tuesday. Well, of course, this is the day in the campaign calendar, usually in February or early March of the election year, when a lot of states hold primary elections. Yeah, like the first Super Tuesday occurred in 1988 campaign, when some southern state party officials hoped that by holding their votes on the same day, like in different states, they would increase the influence of the South and downplay the importance of the earlier New Hampshire primaries and then Iowa caucuses. And yeah, since then, like the number of states that have chosen to hold their primaries on the same day, like the Super Tuesday, has increased, including even California. For example, yeah, because of the large number of presidential convention delegates that could be won by a single Democratic or Republican presidential candidate on Super Tuesday, the result of Super Tuesday election often solidified front runner for each party's presidential nomination. Yeah, long example of a sentence with Super Tuesday. Okay, swing states. Yeah, we talked about battleground states, about purple states, or swing states. Yes, of course, states in which the electorate is evenly split between Republicans and Democrats, which makes them targets for aggressive campaigning from both sides. Yeah. So popular swing states we mentioned already are Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Those states have a high number of electoral votes, which make them like prime battlegrounds during the election. And of course, the list of swing states changes with their changing demographics, right? For example, yeah, in the 2008 election, for instance, historically, Republican Virginia and North Carolina voted for Barack Obama, anticipating their status as hard-fought swing states in 2012. Third-party candidate. Okay, like we can only hear about two candidates in the media, like one from Democratic Party, the other from Republican. But there are some third-party candidates. Yeah, so basically, a third-party candidate doesn't belong to one of the two main U.S. political parties. Some examples of names like in 2016, there was a libertarian Gary Johnson, and from the Green Party, Jill Stein. I mean, no third-party candidate has ever won the presidency, but they might have influenced the result. Like in 92, it's still unclear if Ross Perot took votes away from George W. Bush and helped Clinton to win. And in the year 2000, Green Party candidates later is believed to have siphoned votes from Democrat Al Gore. Then Bush won the election. An example, while the candidates for the two major parties are nearly locked in, a slate of third-party candidates, including independent Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Green Party member Jill Stein, and Libertarian Chase Oliver, is still holding on. Yeah, without a chance of winning, but yeah, why not? Ticket. Ticket. Basically, Republican ticket or Democratic ticket, yeah, refers to candidates running together. We talked about balancing the ticket at the very beginning. So basically, candidates for the presidency and vice presidency run on the same ticket. Vice president, well, of course, doesn't have as much power as the president, but a vice president is the presiding officer of the U.S. Senate, and also the person who assumes the office of the president in the event of resignation, removal, incapacitation, or death of the incumbent president. And also the vice president casts a vote in the Senate in the event of a tie. When it's 50-50, the vice president has like the deciding vote. Well, the vice president can amass some significant informal power in his capacity as an advisor to the president. Well, however, they don't have many responsibilities apart from that. And the last term for the wedge issues. Wedge is something that is used to separate two things, divide them. Yeah, so a wedge issue is an issue on which a candidate campaigns in order to divide factions within his opponent's support base. Some examples, say like in 2004, Republicans proposed same-sex marriage bans in more than a dozen states, and Republican candidates loudly trumpeted their support. So the states held some referenda that were aimed at attracting voters who support the Democratic on most economic issues, but strongly about social issues. So yeah. On the other hand, conversely, Democrats might highlight that their more liberal position on abortion in an attempt to win over pro-choice Republicans. Yeah, so you're trying to get some voters from the opposition to vote for you. Using some wedge issues and some examples here, like healthcare was a key wedge issue for Democrats in 2018 House wave that cost Republicans dozens of seats. Trans children are victims of a culture war that has forced them into the role of wedge issue to get ring-wingers elected, and crime and public safety, perhaps more than anything else, are the wedge issue of all wedge issues in this race. Yeah, so wedge issue, something that is used to separate, to get voters of the opposition to vote for you because maybe you're not so bad. All right, so that's everything for today. We'll see on Tuesday who wins, and I hope that this my selection of terms will make it easier for you to understand some news from English-speaking media concerning American presidential elections. So once again, thank you very much for attending. Have a safe, longer weekend, and I'll see you sometime maybe not see you, but I'll talk to you sometime in the future. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Take care.